Good morning, Greenside. Just before we begin proceedings to commemorate Mandela Day, we would like to take a moment of silence in honor of the spirit of the great heart, Johnny Clegg. Popularly known by his fans as the White Zulu, Johnny Clegg challenged the apartheid laws in the 1970s and got into trouble with authorities when he paid a visit to areas where black people stayed. It was during these escapades when he got exposed to the way of life of black South African citizens. This resulted in him learning how to sing and dance in Zulu. Some of his hit songs included Scatlings of Africa, Asimbonanga, and Impi. To us South Africans, this is most devastating as he was a beacon of hope to us. It is with a heavy heart that we say farewell to him until we meet again. Greenside, in honor of this great man, let us observe a moment of silence.
Good morning, Greenside. For this special commemoration, I have chosen to read from a book written by the New York Times veteran journalist, Bill Keller. The book is entitled The Tree Shaker, the story of Nelson Mandela. Its title derives from Madiba's African name, which translates into the term tree shaker, a prophetic name, as Mandela would spend most of his life shaking his country to its roots. Bill Keller's biography of Mandela offers a clear-eyed view of Mandela's legacy and provides fresh insights of Madiba to a new generation of readers. It will certainly be one of the new books to grace our renovated media center. I don't know if you can all see it from that far back, but a very colourful looking book. I would like to pause and digress here, as this is an opportune moment for me to welcome our newly appointed librarian and media center manager, Mr. Molepo. My week started off well when I saw Mr. Lepo in the foyer on Monday morning. He has been able to join us a few weeks earlier than expected, and I am relieved and grateful. The library, now that it is manned, will be open every afternoon as a sanctuary for those of you who want to work in a conducive environment. Mr. Malepo will be needing the student librarians or library monitors to help him. So anyone interested, please make an effort to connect with Mr. Molepo, and you will find him in the media center. That's really a good news for all of us. We've all missed our library. Now to return to Mandela. My reading comes from the chapter entitled Looking Back. In June 2007, I took my daughter Molly to South Africa. I had an invitation to speak at a conference of journalists in Cape Town and decided to use this opportunity to introduce my curious fifth grader to a place I love. We drove down the coast to see the colony of African penguins at Boulders. We took the tram up Table Mountain. We spent an afternoon in the sprawling shack town of Khayelitsha at a clinic for women infected with the HIV virus. I even dragged Molly to a speech by Nelson Mandela's successor, Thabo Mbeki. The country I showed my daughter still had lingering racial resentments, still had a vast gap between rich and poor, still suffered from a high level of violent crime. It was also still breathtakingly beautiful, and still a vibrant, if unfinished, democracy. After a few days, we flew to Johannesburg for the highlight of our trip, a meeting with Nelson Mandela. I had not seen him in a dozen years. Mandela had long ago stopped giving interviews to journalists. His hearing and memory were fading, and his loyal staff fended off reporters for fear that he might say something controversial or embarrassing. They agreed to let me see him and ask a few questions. Not an interview exactly, just a conversation, for old time's sake. Molly was about to turn 10. Mandela was about to turn 89, and he had 6.5 years to live. His knees were stiff with arthritis. He stayed seated behind his desk, but he beamed a great smile and shook Molly's hand and asked her name. Marley, he repeated. Molly, he corrected. And what do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe a writer, she said. A waiter? Well, that is interesting. Time was short. I plunged ahead with the question that everyone always asks, Nelson Mandela. After all you went through, friends tortured and killed, decades in prison, your family tormented, your people humiliated, how can you not feel hatred or bitterness? Mandela sighed patiently, as if the question was silly. To a leader, he said, hatred is just a distraction. It keeps you from thinking clearly. Of course, Nelson Mandela felt what other men feel, but he usually mastered his feelings. He was at heart the most practical of men. He always asked himself, what will work? If that meant making deals with people he did not like or respect, he would do it. If it meant giving something up in the short run to achieve success in the long run, he would do it. Compromise is often the hardest, bravest course. It requires standing up to your enemies, and sometimes it means standing up to your friends. Mandela would be the first to say he was not a saint. He was a disobedient youth, a neglectful husband, and a distracted father. He sometimes misled his allies and manipulated his followers. He had principles, of course, but he would often bend them to get what he wanted, which, for most of his life, was the right of Africans to govern themselves. As a leader, he was at different points in his career a militant and a moderate, a tyrant and a servant of the people, a champion of the downtrodden and a friend of big business. Time and time again, he let the end justify the means. He preferred common sense to sentiment. The vacation home he built in his boyhood village after being released from prison was an almost exact replica of the warden's cottage where he had lived at the end of his imprisonment. An interviewer asked him what on earth had inspired him to copy his jailer's house. Was it a fondness for his prison experiences? Was it a gesture of forgiveness? Nothing of the kind, Mandela replied. He had simply got used to the warden's floor plan. He wanted to build himself a house where he could find the bathroom at night without stumbling around in the dark. If he was not a messiah, he was not merely a revolutionary either, because revolutionaries tend to think that they have finished their job once they have torn down the old order. He was rather a shrewd balancer of honor and interests, of principles and goals. He was a politician. Politician is not a word that commands great respect these days. This is perhaps because so few politicians are like Nelson Mandela. He combined a high purpose, an unusually clear vision of his ultimate destination, an irresistible charm, and seemingly bottomless reserves of patience, self-discipline, and resourcefulness. He gave millions of South Africans a peaceful, if imperfect, young democracy that few imagined possible. And he gave history a model of leadership few on any continent have matched. And finally, unlike so many men who fall in love with power, when his time was up, he stepped aside. When our visit was nearly over, I asked Mandela about the future of South Africa. He started to give the polite answer, the optimistic answer, but then he paused and changed direction. We have a leader, however, President Thabo Mbeki, who is trying to depart from our experience. In a stern voice, he complained that Mbeki liked to give orders without listening to the people around him. This was not what South Africa needed. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a panicky look on the face of Mandela's assistant. What if word of this got out? This was going to be a scandal. Mandela smiled broadly. Just a last bit of mischief from the tree shaker.
Bring back Nelson Mandela, bring him back home to Soweto. I want to see you walking down, hand in hand with Winnie Mandela. During apartheid, music had united and spread the word of Nelson Mandela. Artists such as Yuma Sekela and Mary Makeba made songs and music which made people around the world feel the presence and enlightenment of Tata. I would now like to invite the new school choir back onto stage and the dramatic arts learners to enlighten us with the same energy.
Most powerful weapon which one could use to change the world. Tata Nelson Mandela.
Sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. Sports unites youth in a way that little else does.
Music is a great blessing. It has the power to elevate and liberate us. It sets us free to dream.
What's wrong? Buena. Swagger. Sorry, Nila. Oh, dust.
What for? Shame it, and you look hard. Okay, now. What's wrong?
I'm angry, man.
I'm angry. I'm upset, my guy.
Why?
Chomi, let me tell you why I bunked school today. So, Chomi, I walked into school. Guess what I see on the floor? Poo, Chomi. I couldn't believe it, Chomi. It smelled so bad. I'm wondering how my students are learning in that smell. Mara, don't worry, Chomi. 27 April, you're going to be there. It's my head.
Yo guys, let me tell you my story. You know guys, I got my report, but I didn't pass. I don't know why teachers don't care about their work. How can I aspire to be a CA when teachers don't show interest? Mara, I know, but maybe... Whoa. You see when that happens? Yo. You see, Mandisa's hair salon. Yabana lapo. So the keeper says I'm a nails Brazilian. Woo! Eraser cards. Who's over? Me.
I'm going to be number 1 at that hair salon to do my Anna and B. Power to the people. Bethu. Now listen to this. Woo! My mother worked for this other lady back in the Johannesburg city. Every time I go and visit my mom, I have the opportunity to friend this boy. Last week, this boy made me angry. He said to me, Stragalaga! Do they teach you history at your school? LOL. LOL. I laughed at this boy. He says again, Stragalaga, do they teach you about great leaders like Jan van Riebeck? At this point, I realized that this boy is disrespecting me because I go to a Lokshin school. Hey, Mfethu, I was mad. At that point, I was crazy. I go to that boy and I look at him. I say, boy, let me tell you about the day that my teacher gave me the opportunity to teach my peers history. That day, it was pretty lit. I shepherded that class with an introduction. I shepherded them with a conclusion, not forgetting the body. I went to that boy and I say to him, boy, hey boy, let me tell you what I taught my peers that day. I look at him again. I say, boy, let me tell you about the great leaders of our land. I tell him about Shaka Zulu. I tell this boy, just because I go to a Lokshin school, you think I'm a stupid. At this time, Bethu, I'm angry. Keep curious. I say to him, boy, let me tell you about the great leaders of our land. I tell him about Robert Simukwe. I tell him about Tsetsi Mashinini. I tell him about Oliver. I tell him about Stephen Bantubi. I say, boy, let me tell you about the father of our nation. I tell you about Nelson Mandela, the leader of the people. I tell him about Utata Mandela. I say to him, boy, on the 27th of April, I shall cast my vote. Yes. And I shall vote for a democratic society. And on our land, freedom shall reign. Thank you. And when that vote is cast, and we have a democratic society, I say, away with inequality. Away! I say, away with the dumpers. Away!
against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society, which all people will live in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is the ideal which I hope to succeed and live for. But my Lord, if needs be, it is the ideal which I am prepared to die.
Mandela,
Mtate, why do you have such a big smile on your face? Because I am happy. Mtate, why are you so happy? Is it the running water or the electricity? No, Ntanam, it's not because of that. Okay, kid, tell me then. I am happy because I have everything I need. This man feels content with everything he has, regardless of whether his house has a roof or his shoes have no feet. Greenside, as a school community, we believe that it is righteous to give back. Giving back is a part of our motto, our heart. And that is why the RCL went on a visit to the Molelema village in the Northwest last week Saturday. I would now like to call on Shabak Singh, who will provide feedback regarding the RCL visit to the Molelema village, and Monica Mukua to hand over tent food to the JPCC.
This past Saturday, the members of the RCL and choir have been given the opportunity to fill our hearts with love and joy as we travel to a small village in Molelema, Northwest. On the Friday, the RCL and choir members sacrificed their Friday evening to sleep over at school with no electricity half of the time in this freezing cold weather in order to wake up at 3:30 a.m., leaving to Molelema. As planned, we arrived at the village at 11 a.m. to be welcomed with smiles, full of excitement as residents of the village gathered at the chief's house. Our beautiful choir had touched the hearts of the residents through their divine voices, as their performance filled the people of Molelema with energy of joy and pride, but most importantly, happiness. This unique experience had impacted each and every one of us as individuals, humbling ourselves, allowing us to realize and appreciate the small things in life, as great things are done by a series of small things brought together. It was an honor for us as a school to be present at this blissful event, to have brought great smiles of happiness and love. Although this special event was held to commemorate Nelson Mandela, we should be able to practice this type of behavior in that mood in every aspect of our lives. Seeing other people happy brought every one of us satisfaction and triumph. On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank Mr. Masambuka for investing his time in ensuring the choir's performance was on point. We appreciate the time he spent in creating nothing short from perfection. We are extremely grateful to our drivers for providing us with a safe journey there and back from the early parts of the morning to late at night, and to Ms. White for making all plans possible. We would like to give our acknowledgement and thanks to Mrs. Strauss and Ms. Mshepu for coordinating the whole day to make sure everything ran smoothly from start to finish. On behalf of Mr. Strauss, he would like to give thanks to the learners for being selfless and for making the sacrifices to attend, and for being an example to the peers. He is proud of each individual for committing to this project, as this brings great honor to be associated with Greenside High School, because we all created magic at Molelema. Thank you.
For the past week, as a school, we have been collecting cans of tin food to donate to the Johannesburg Parent and Child Center. This center was established in 1944 to provide counseling and guidance for parents and children with emotional and developmental needs. The Virtuosity Foundation is a non-profit organization and therefore rely on public donations from the citizens of our society to contribute to the lives of those in need. This is why it was decided that as a school, we would give back to the community. Together, we collected a total of 300 cans of tin food. We would like to thank everyone who donated, and is highly appreciated. On behalf of Greenside High School, we would like to hand over the donation to the Virtuosity Foundation. While the boys who are assisting come up, I would like to read a bit of a background about the foundation. The Virtuosity Foundation is a non-profit company born from an existing local fitness clothing and events company in 2017. It is represented today by two of its directors, Ms. Farhana Buli and Hassan Mr. Shwaib, two of its directors. Its main purpose is to run fitness events in aid of empowering South Africa's youth through literacy and other programs. It is solely by volunteers. For Mandela Day, they are running a fitness event at the Children's Memorial Institute on Saturday, supported by a charity drive in aid of their host for the day, Fight with Insight. Anyone is welcome to come and attend and support the athletes. There will be great food and coffee on sale. Fight with Insight was established in the city with the vision of creating a safe place for the children of Johannesburg, using boxing to teach themselves valuable life skills to empower themselves. Over time, it has evolved in a safe environment where they are supported both physically and emotionally. They are not only provided with a meal after the training, but they are also cooking nutrition classes, teaching them how to cook healthy meals. Life skills workshops teach them how to deal with very important issues such as gender equality and career guidance. Ultimately, for many of the youth aged 5 to adults, it is a home away from home. Fight with Institute holds open gym sessions for free, open to everyone to come and experience boxing and training. Everyone is welcome.
Let me tell you something. They call me colored because I roll my R's. They label me uneducated because my ethnicity is expressed loud and clear through my thick, dark, curly hair and the way I say aware. I call myself colorful, however, because I've been kissed gold by the sun, because of my lineage of black and white sons. They call me colored, right? Because my mother rolls her hair, or because I have family that come from Cape Town or Nuclear. But you see me, I call myself colorful because my family tree branches out like the rainbow, because of the loud and quiet confidence colorful people show. They call me colored, right? Because my brothers and sisters are served gunpowder for supper, drooling red from the taste of metal, seen as gang-prone prey during their last supper. I call myself colorful because I dare to stray from being stereotypically undermined. Watch me face the bilingual poetic stance and sage thought of this colorful mind. They call me colored because my attempts to outgrow this colored prejudice is painted gray by their lack of attempts to see past this colored skin. I'm colorful, not because I'm blue, black, yellow, white, or even colored. I'm colorful because I'm able to appreciate the colorful beauty of diversity.
Yebaninzi abafuna lo mbuthano lwenhliziyo